What's the craziest butterfly effect that happened to you because of a small decision you made?
Made a last-minute decision to go to a friend's divorce party and met my wife. My wife got an email from her old colleagues the day we returned home from our honeymoon, asking if she wanted to star in a short film they were doing for fun. She said sure, and asked if I could come along, as she knew I had an interest in movies, but at the time I worked in life insurance and was miserable. It was more than an interest. I had always wanted to make films, but never made the right connections with people and didn't know where to start. I made friends with the producer of that short film my wife was in, and 11 years later filmmaking and video production is my career. I've shot feature films, short films, video for TV and web, and all over the world because of that one email to my wife. Changed our lives. Oh, and that original short film never got finished, lol. My husband, he found out after 18 years that his mom's side of the family was Spanish, not Mexican. He found this interesting and changed his country to Spain on MySpace instead the US where he really was. Meanwhile in Australia, I was helping my friend find Spanish people to add as a friend as she was learning the language. I came across my now husband and decided to send him a friend request as well. We got along really well and met in person after 3 years. Have been together 11 years, married for 7. If he didn't change his country to Spain, and only for a day or so, we'd never know each other existed. The first day I ever signed up for internet back in 1999, I installed Merc, because it was on the starter disk my ISP gave me, and joined a random chat room. Over the course of the next year the regulars in that room became like family to me. We would talk about everything. All that practice made me a fast typist and way better communicator than I was before that. They would even help me when I had trouble understanding something in my college classes. I also met my husband in that room, and we've been happily married for 18 years. Others from our little IRC family are married, too, and we still keep in touch. All because I randomly chose the chat room that day. My existence. When my dad was about 20, he needed a phone number so he called the operator from a payphone. She gave him the number, he hung up, and she accidentally refunded the money back to the payphone. She called the payphone back and asked him if he could put the money back in, which he did and hung up again. She accidentally refunded the money again and had to call back again to ask him to put the money back in, he did and hung up again. She was so flustered, she refunded the money again and called back again, and my father got to chatting with her and got her number. They set up a date, which she stood him up for, then she forgot his name when he called her again, then they actually got coffee and 4 years later were married. This coming August it'll be 50 years for them. If my dad didn't need that phone number, I wouldn't be here. My desire for pizza set off a chain reaction that destroyed my family. One day got home from school and really wanted pizza. Family was poor so spontaneous food trips weren't always in the cards. Really worked my pouty face to my mom and begged to go to the local pizza place for dinner. She said all right. While chilling there I saw my uncle walk by, and I was like to fuck, Uncle X, is that you? Now you might say, well, he wanted pizza, what's the big deal? Well, he lived several states away, so to arbitrarily be in town and not tell anyone was strange. Turned out he was having an affair with his sister-in-law, my aunt on the other side of the family. She was basically a money-grubbing whore and the family protested. One thing led to another and everyone hates each other now and we haven't had contact in like 20 years. I just wanted some pizza. When I was in 8th grade, 13 years old, I had a really long bus ride home so would pass the time by reading. One day I faced the very serious situation of nothing to read and a minute to grab something in the library, and for whatever reason I grabbed a book on astronomy. That book was amazing and grabbed me like nothing else had before. I remember being excited to realize every astronomer on Earth was 13 years old once too, and that was a career you could actually do, even if you were from Pittsburgh. Anyway, today I am a professional astronomer who studies gigantic space explosions for a living. There was a lot of work to get from that moment to this one, but I'm always grateful that I picked up that library book. The other day I was driving home from work, traffic was light and I was behind a car with a number plate that started KFD. Decided to duck through KFC drive-thru for chippies with extra salt as a little treat to myself. They took forever to bring them out and by the time they finally did, all told about 10 minutes later, traffic has slowed to a complete halt. I need to get over a bridge that's normally 6 lanes which has now been reduced to 1. Turns out it's due to a massive collision involving several cars. When I finally get to the point where I'm driving past, I notice the number plate on one of the cars, that same KFD number plate. If I hadn't stopped to get hot chips I'm fairly sure I'd have been in a major collision. I had to call my heart surgeon to give him my new insurance. I had only just gotten them because the person who had them had the flu and was not getting back to me, As soon as I got my numbers, I called surgeon. The receptionist said, "Oh, hey, we just had a cancellation for this Friday, do you want it?" Of course I wanted to get it over and not wait another month. Decided to take the open heart surgery cancellation appointment, a month before my actual appointment, and well, surgeon said that thank goodness I did because once he got a look inside, he realized I would not have survived to the original appointment date. So, if the insurance lady didn't have the flu, I would have gotten those numbers a lot sooner, and never gotten the offer to have the surgery when I did. Someone else's flu saved my life. I was given 2 start dates for an entry-level job in a large organization. The date I chose to start led to working in a small but high-profile team, so I got lots of exposure with senior management, and I became the can-do guy who'd fix a million tiny problems. That recognition led to promotions, a fantastic career, further professional qualifications, and working overseas for several years. I also met my best friend and my partner. If I'd chosen the other date, I'd have been sent to a data processing pool and been fairly anonymous. I chose to rearrange the sequence of classes slightly before starting my education. By doing this, I had to commute to a different branch of the school in a different town than the one I was originally signed up for. On my first day there, I helped a girl who had managed to break both of her arms in a drunken shopping cart accident, I learned later. This girl, whom I would absolutely never have met had I not changed my classes around, is my wife through 14 years. I was always super flirty with the girl from HR, but we were always seeing other people. Don't date at work, so when she left the company I was bummed. A year or 2 later a coworker asked me to search my email archives, that was a thing back then, for something he needed. I ended up stumbling across the farewell to my work friend's email from HR girl, and she sent it from her personal email address. I reached out to her, we had coffee, then a date, then many dates, then I love yous, and I put a ring on it ASAP. 12 years later, extremely happily married, 2 goofy kids, 2 evil cats, and she still puts up with my bullshit. In Afghanistan, wasn't done with my coffee, so I passed on a trip from one base to another. There was another convoy a few hours later. Most everyone died who took the first convoy. My second cup of coffee wasn't even cold when I found out. Out of university, looking for a job and exhausting all the online resources. On a whim, I looked in the careers section in a print newspaper that was lying around in the house. We never subscribed to that paper, I don't know why it was even there. Got the job in a different city, met someone who is now one of my best friends, who introduced me to their friends, who introduced me to their friends, and so on, until I was eventually introduced to my wife. If I'd found a job where I actually planned on working, there is absolutely no way I would have crossed paths with any of these people. 4 years ago, a kid I barely knew from school invited me to a Six Flags. I was a bit of a loner at the time, and I heard rumors about this kid being weird, so I intended to not go. On the day he wanted me to go, I was feeling extra bored and decided on a whim, why not? So I went and met this kid and 2 of his friends I've never met at a Six Flags. 4 years later, and that kid is my best friend, and I have 3 other very close friends I met through him. Not only that, but I also met my first girlfriend because of the connections some of my new friends had. It transformed my high school years from being alone to having an amazing group of friends I could do almost anything with. I intended to ask my best friend to be my best man one day, and I don't intend on ever getting out of touch with any of them. I'm home from college now, and we are going to have a lot of fun together. Best decision I've ever made.